The task: to solve quadratic equations by factoring. So here's the first one, the quantity x plus 2 times the quantity x minus 3 equals 0. It's already factored. So the next issue is to find the zeros if either of these two factors is 0, then the product will be 0. So one way to determine the zeros is let each factor equal 0 and solve for x. So if we subtract 2 from both sides, we have x equals negative 2. If we add 3 to both sides, we have x equals 3. But here's another way to do it. We can solve by inspection. What is the opposite? Excuse me, I was going to say what value of x takes this expression to 0. Another way to put it is, what's the opposite of 2? It's negative 2. What's the opposite of 3? It is, or excuse me, what's the opposite of negative 3? It's 3. So the solutions are x equals negative 2 or 3. And we're done. Now we'll go on to B. And y times the quantity 3y plus 4 equals 0. And this is already factored. So we'll set each factor equal to 0 and solve. And this is already solved. Y equals 0. To solve this fellow, we'll isolate the term with y in it, which is 3y, so we have to subtract 4 from both sides. And then we'll isolate y by dividing both sides by 3, and we get y equals negative 4 thirds. So our solutions are y equals negative 4 thirds or 0. On to the next equation. In this case, we must factor. And so we know when we factor, we're going to have a product of this form. And we know this, the only factors of 2 are 2 and 1, so we're going to have a 2x and an x. We also know that since the first sign and the last sign disagree, then these two signs will disagree. And now let's look at all the factors of 2, and they are 1 and 2. And all the factors of 5, the last term, and they're 1 and 5. And by the way, since these two signs disagree, we know this coefficient on x, or excuse me, this middle term is a difference of a product of some combination of these factors, so of 2 and 5. So now, is there some combination of products and sums that of the factors of 2 and 5 that have a difference of 9? Well, let's see. Here's one. What if we multiply 2 times 5? 2 times 5 and multiply 1 times 1. There's a 1 there. It's understood. And let's see. Who gets the positive? The 5 gets a positive. This gets a negative. Now let's try it out. Well, 2x times x is 2x squared. Negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. Negative 1 times x is negative x. 2x times 5 is 10x. Add those up, we get 9x. Hey, we did it right. So then our factoring's correct. Now, let's find the zeros. So we have x plus 5 equals 0, and 2x minus 1 equals 0. Solving for x, subtracting 5 from both sides, we have x equals negative 5. Now, for this fellow, we have to isolate the term with x in it, so we'll add 1 to both sides. Now we'll isolate x by dividing through by 2. So dividing through by 2, we get x equal to 1/2. And now we've determined that the solutions are x equals negative 5 or 1/2.